Welcome back, everybody, to These Aren't the Nerds You're Looking For. Lorenzo is sitting here with...
Kevin Ward.
How's it going, man?
It's going.
Yeah.
Another day, another dollar, right?
Still just,
That's the saying.
Yeah.
We here in Missouri apparently don't need to shelter in place anymore starting today. And I don't understand this decision because over the weekend, St. Louis had like the most number of new COVID-19 cases.
Yeah, sounds right.
In a day. Like 2 days in a row.
Just for reference for everybody else, we are recording this on May 5th, 2020. So.
Yeah, happy Cinco de Mayo. You guys will hear this in, I think, about 3 weeks.
Yeah, but... just to give some context for our listeners, because also just to let everybody know, this is also kind of the only time Kevin and I talk in any sort of verbal fashion. Otherwise, we're always texting each other.
Yep.
With him being in St. Louis area and myself being in Southern California area.
Yep.
So it's this is our catch-up time as well. But I don't know. For our listeners, I'm shaking my head a lot because my view on this is just, I have no idea what to think anymore. But the situation's changing all the goddamn time. So that's why I specify the date, because over the last, this is week 8 for me here under self-isolation or shelter in place or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, my kids have been home from school for probably 8 weeks, and my daughter is in high school. My oldest daughter is in high school, and she's done for the school year. She's doing education remotely, and then my youngest daughter is in daycare, and they're reopening. I don't know if they have reopened, but they have like different procedures in place, and my wife and I are basically just not comfortable with it, so we're going to hold out for a while until at least like the quote-unquote summer session starts. But we're basically we're doing the same thing that we've been doing this entire time for at least the next like 3 weeks, just to see how things pan out in the local area. And if things are going down in a downward trend, then I think we'll slowly open ourselves up to going out of the house maybe more often.
If things just level out even, I think that's kind of a good sign nowadays. So
yeah,
our
see. Business is an essential business, so I've still been working day to day and putting in a lot of hours making sure to get shit done, but you gotta do what you gotta do. So
hey, man, just good to hear you're safe, at least, and your whole family's safe
so far, man, in
these times. Because man, like, just it's crazy. It's crazy. So
I'm not gonna lie, I'm ready for my barber to open up, and then about 3 weeks from then I'll fucking get a haircut again, because it's been a long time.
Yeah, see, you at least are still shaving. I decided to just let it go, so our listeners can't see, but I have not shaved since shelter in place began. So
Lorenzo has a nice beard going on, not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean, I guess even for the 8 weeks, it's
looking good. Obi-Wan Kenobi got his beard vacuumed off, and I think it landed on Lorenzo's face, man.
And his hair, yeah. So... that said, we are closing out this arc, I think, right? Is this the end of this arc, by the way?
If it's not, I don't even know what is going to happen next.
This is the 4th episode of this arc, right?
Yes, this is the 4th episode of what I thought was a 3-parter. So
this is Season 4, Episode 18, Crisis on Naboo, is what we are actually here to talk about.
Yep, I've got a production date or a production code of 410 and an original air date of February 10th, 2012.
Yep.
We're still in 20 BBY. Looks like we'll be there for a while, at least.
Yeah.
Written by Brent Friedman, and this one is directed by Danny Keller.
Yep.
Not a name that I recognize.
Yeah. But we're moving quite along, you know.
We're 2/3 of the way through, 3/4 of the way through season 4.
Yeah. Again, hopefully this is the end of this arc. But, you know,
I think it is, because the next episode aired 2 weeks from that date. So the next episode that we will be viewing is a 2-week time jump. So I don't think that they would have a week break and then finish up this
I don't know, man.
What's his name? Reiko Hardin arc. But fortune cookie this week is trust is the greatest of gifts, but it must be earned. Who said it? Who you got?
I'm feeling Padme with this one almost.
Okay, I'm cool with that. I put down Palpatine, ? And I'm like, I don't know. We said Palpatine said the last one, so.
Yeah, I feel like any of the senators might be able to say this. Like, this feels like a sort of like a optimistic political statement, right? You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go with Padme. we'll do that. That'll work.
Yeah.
Newsreel is like a recap.
A complete recap.
It ends with the Luxury 3000. And can I just say, I don't like the ship name, and I don't really like the ship.
Yeah. I don't know why this was the ship they had to take either. Like, there wasn't like some sort of, I don't know, like Pinto version of a space.
Yeah. Anything.
Traveling. Yeah.
And anything could have been, saved you a couple of galactic creds there.
Right. There's no like Ford Fiesta version of a Star Wars vehicle in this universe at all, you know.
This is like a luxury space yacht.
Yeah.
And Obi-Wan bought it.
Yeah.
And I guess everybody is just like road tripping in the luxury yacht over to Naboo, right?
Another question. Let's say everything ends fine.
Okay.
So the Jedi's paid for this vessel. Is this just theirs afterwards?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I need to know. So, just one of those interesting questions. Again, I don't understand how undercover financials work, so
I don't either. I have not been able to talk to my buddy about that, but I'll report back on that at some point in time.
I do like, though, that back to the newsreel, that the box is like really briefly mentioned, but
yeah,
it's like, hey, they went through these things, but like the main thing is trying to get Palpatine. I'm like, right, yeah, because the box didn't fucking matter.
No, it didn't.
Nothing about the box fucking mattered at all. So.
There hasn't been a lot in this 4-parter that has mattered too terribly much. No. And we're going to get to that in a second. When we get to the episode proper... Sorry?
Yeah, exactly. Where does the episode proper start?
It starts somewhere between, like, the Luxury 3000 headed to Naboo, and then my next note is that the Jedi / Dooku finalize their plans, and I don't remember which happens first, if it's Dooku doing his thing. I think we're with the Jedi.
I think it starts with the Jedi. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Mace Windu has like a map set up, and he's explaining what's going to happen. There's a whole bunch of Jedi in this room.
Yes.
And it's throughout the episode, it's really only Mace Windu, Anakin, and Ahsoka that are involved in anything. Mm-hmm. But they're just freely talking about how Obi-Wan is like undercover and faked his death and all this shit.
Right.
Why was this like a big secret 2 episodes ago, and then we had to break the news to Anakin, and he was all pissed because everybody lied to him. And now it's just like, yeah, it's whatever. Like, Obi-Wan's doing his thing.
Yeah, I got nothing for you on this one. I too was confused by this point.
So if somebody's like, hey, what's the security? And Mace is like, yeah, we're going to like do this thing because Palpatine insists on going to the Celebration of Light on Naboo and being the guest of honor or something. He's like, we're going to use a ray shield. And Anakin's like, looks legit to me. No worries here. Yoda does not agree and says something to the effect of like, complacency is where bad things begin from.
Right.
Or something.
Yeah.
And then Mace does mention that he hasn't heard from Obi-Wan. Anakin's like, man, he all good. Like, he'll do his thing. Like, we'll do ours. And they all walk off. Yoda does not look pleased at all. At this point, we cut to Naboo. We see some Naboo techs doing tech work. I don't know. They're working in a warehouse doing something. And the bad crew come in and wipe all of them out. And guess what? Dooku is here too. Just waiting outside the door. Like, Reiko, Hardeen, Kenobi, and Dooku are like the last two to walk in the door. Did Dooku ride the luxury 3000 to get here? Or did they have to sneak, in air quotes, 2 ships down onto the planet?
I think 2 ships was the deal. I don't know. But they were all together at the end of the box. So.
Right. And Reiko's like, everybody in the Winnebago, I'm driving, buddies.
Yeah, space yacht road trip sounds like it's logical, I suppose.
So, yeah, that's what it seems like. But by the end of the episode, that is not what it seems like.
No.
So here's the plan. Daron, the squid with a mushroom for a head, is going to breach the shields because that's what he does. He's a Parwan, I think is what he is. And he has like electricity in his veins, so he can reach through ray shields. Moralo Eval is going to be the getaway driver because he planned the entire thing. So I guess that's what, like, that's the easy thing. Like, I'll just stay out of it until the end. I'll just pick you guys up and we'll drive away.
I just like that logic. He's not the best driver. He's just the one that planned this.
Right.
Sure.
Embo and Twazi. So we know who Embo is. He's the dude with the Captain America shield for a hat. Yes. And Twazi is the praying mantis lady gymnast. They are going to pose as guards, and Reiko Hardeen is going to be the sniper. So Cad Bane is giving all this information, and he doesn't specifically say what he's going to do. I guess he's just going to kind of oversee everything.
I guess. Right? He's Overwatch. Yeah.
And the idea is to kidnap Chancellor Palpatine. So after this happens, or after that event will happen in the future, Cad Bane doles out these little devices. I don't even know what to call them. They're like some little electronic GPS map thing or something. Yeah. That is after the event happens. I guess it's supposed to tell, like, update and show where the rendezvous point is. Not really sure. At this point, Cad's like, everybody back up from the table, and throws this thing down, activates it. These are hollow disguises, which I can only imagine is like the Ugnaught from the box episode. Sinrich, I think is what his name was. The inventor of the holographic disguise matrix. I would imagine that's what this is. Do you follow that? Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah.
So it was like a throwaway line in the last episode when Dooku was doing his roll call or who's who on the contestants participating in the box. And like the last one was the dude, this dude was introduced as inventing the holographic disguise matrix. And I think that's what this technology is supposed to be. So we have our second disguise technology in this 4-part story arc. We have the nanobot, change your face shape, eat the ping pong ball to sound like the guy, have your hair vacuumed off, and nano surface tattoo technology. And then we have this, which Cad Bane literally throws what looks like a little hollow projector that he would like carry around, and Dooku would be standing in his hand. They'd be having a conversation, right? Throws it on the table and just gives it like one tap, and these 5 beams shoot out of it. or 5 holograms, and they are they're Republic guards. They look like clones, but they're all blue. Like, they're not clones. It's like security, right?
The full Senate guards, yeah.
The Senate guards. And so each of the participants steps into this hologram, and then it, like, covers them up. So I'm okay with this for Obi-Wan / Reiko Hardeen, who is double disguised right now. Because he's relatively the same body shape, right? But then you see Embo step in, and Embo has this hat that's like 2 feet wide,
right?
And it just like disappears. And then you have Daron, who is a tentacly, like a floating tentacle alien with a mushroom head and like 3 eyes and speaks alien language, whatever it is.
Yeah, I agree with you that it would make sense if they were disguising as something bigger themselves, bigger than themselves.
Or if they had the same roundabout physicality. Right.
Yeah.
So it should like cover them. It should cover their body size. It shouldn't just like disguise.
Make invisible things that are there.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. And also, it's weird that they're using this to disguise as Senate guards as opposed to getting Senate guard outfits, like,
which we've seen a ton of times.
Having the humanoid characters get into those, but
we needed these characters to be weird alien characters in the box so that they had like certain weird abilities that they could use, especially Daron, this Parwan, so he can reach through a ray shield. Like, that's his only purpose, other than to like float around and look cool.
Yeah, no. We're moving on from the box because this shit was so bad. So that all being said, what happens next? They all basically leave for the posts, right?
Yeah, they kind of leave for the post. Whatever their job assignment is. Dooku congratulates Bane, and he's like, I should have put you in charge like way sooner. Even though part of this arc is that Bane is sent to prison to break out Moralo, Evol, to then go. It's so convoluted.
Was Bane sent
and weird.
there, or was that coincidence? I've already forgotten.
No, he was. There's a line by either Yoda or Mace Windu that says maybe that's why Bane was so easily captured, so that he could be in jail to break out Evil. Right.
Yep. So
and then Dooku's like, hey, keep an eye on Hardeen. There's something about him I just don't trust. And Bane's like, I'm keeping an eye on all of them. Like, great. So at this point, we're done with the bad dudes for a little bit. A ship lands, and it's Mace and Anakin arriving in, like, generic Jedi transport number, I don't even know how many, because we'll get, like, one ship that they use for a while. This is the one where it's got, like, a central cockpit and cabin, and, like, the flight fin rotates like 90 degrees, so when it lands it's horizontal, and then when it takes off it rotates and it's vertical. I'm sure we have isolated what type of ship this is. It doesn't matter, because all it is dropping these dudes off. So they have Palpatine. There's a big mass of people that's got Padme and the Queen,
Yatni, who doesn't say a thing, by the way.
Right, Niatni, who just kind of smiles and nods and stands in the background.
It's really weird to me that they introduce the Queen and the Padme is the one that's, like, greeting them. It's like, yes, thank you guys for coming.
Welcome home. Thanks for getting them here. And Ahsoka's with him, whatever. Here's a question for you.
Yep.
Where is the Twilight? The Twilight was, like, such a big part of, like, it was, like, Anakin's companion, and Ahsoka's companion for a while, right? The ship. It didn't get blown up, did it? Like,
Not
it's
that
just
I recall.
It's just absent.
Yeah, I guess it's in repairs or something. So
I wonder if somewhere along the line somebody was like, this ship was a stupid idea, so let's just have them use like normal Jedi transportation.
Right.
Like the fact that Anakin has his own ship is silly. So I'm going to look into that one at some point in time. Yeah. And I will report back hopefully next week. So Palpatine has arrived. He talks with Padme for a little bit. At this point, he's saying that he thinks the security is like overkill. When like 2 episodes ago, he was talking to Anakin like, hey, Anakin, like somebody's trying to kidnap me and the Jedi aren't taking it seriously. Maybe I wish somebody would do something about it.
Yeah.
And that's what like puts Anakin on the trail of kind of fucking up the original plan.
Right.
With Obi-Wan / Rico Hardeen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now he's like, oh, now that everybody knows that Obi-Wan's undercover, like, I think this is overkill and it's stupid. Like, can't I just go to the Celebration of Light? I don't really understand that one. Yeah. Anakin assigns Ahsoka to be Padme's bodyguard. Which, okay, whatever. Yep. That's pretty standard. At this point, Obi-Wan sets up his little sniper deal and he starts calming with Mace Windu, and he just like hits his thing, and Mace Windu's like, Obi-Wan, you're alive. Like, no codename Ben, no none of this stuff. Like, just start
I thought that
conversation.
Was weird too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
And then Obi-Wan does this weird thing where he's like setting up his sniper rifle, but then totally gets Mace Windu like in the crosshairs, and it like zooms in on Mace, and I was like, has he got a beef with this guy? Is there something that he's not happy about?
I also thought that was odd visually speaking, for sure.
Yeah.
It's weird because like this is they're discussing plans. He's like, yes, I can see you. Like I don't know. It's just like one of those weird like old video game things where you're just like, I see you. You know. It's like, great, cool.
It's weird. And it's not even like Obi-Wan like takes a screen cap of it and then like texts that over to Mace Windu to be like, haha, I gotcha. Yeah. No, not at all. No. He's just talking to him like, hey, I can be your eye in the sky, and here's the deal. He says 3 bounty hunters are disguised as guards, and then he says that this Parwan is going to bust through the ray shield. Through the ray shield. So you think that somebody should be stationed like near the shield generator, which we're going to find out later is not the case at all. It's actually right next to the ray shield.
It's in a weird place too.
Wall.
We'll get there.
And then I think that, I mean, he basically just reiterates exactly what we just heard from Cad Bane. And he says you should double check the identity of all the guards. And Mace Windu's like, that's going to take a while. We don't have time for that.
Yeah. This is weird.
We got to have extra security with ray shields, but you're telling us that people are going to sneak in as guards? We don't have time to like actually check the identity of these people.
Our man on the inside gave us this information on what we're exactly trying to prevent. Nah, nothing necessary here at all.
That's silly, Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody got time for that. So we get an establishing shot of Theed. Bunch of people cheer that Palpatine is coming out. Ray shields go up. Palpatine gives this speech. He talks about how 847 years ago, Naboo joined the Republic. And I guess this is like the Celebration of Light is like the anniversary of Naboo joining the Republic. This is what I'm gathering.
Something like that.
Because it's not said like outright. At this point, we do see that Bane is disguised as a Nemoidian. Why would a Nemoidian be welcome at the Celebration of Light in the bubble?
Yeah,
inside the ray shield where Palpatine is.
I didn't understand why security wasn't more stringent for inside the bubble, especially too. Like that was a weird point, right?
I mean,
like,
it's got Mace Windu.
Yeah.
Who's talking to Obi-Wan, his eye in the sky, and it's got Anakin
there,
who has his back turned to Palpatine.
Right.
And neither of them are like near Palpatine.
Yeah.
They're not even like if somebody just shot a good old fashioned bullet, it's not like they could even like dive in front of him.
Right. Like even if it's from inside, like especially if it's from inside the ray shield, it's like
right. Cad Bane dressed up as this or disguised as this Nemoidian in his like hollow projection suit or whatever could just shoot out the shield generator,
right?
And then we don't need Daron
to do the weird thing that he ends up doing, which
he just sticks his arm through and shocks it. Apparently he can shoot electricity out of his tentacles now.
Right, yeah.
Which is new.
And Obi-Wan does get the warning out, but nobody catches that it's happening as it's happening, which is weird too.
Not at all. And apparently this disguise matrix has a translator because in the last episode Daron spoke weird alien googly language.
Yeah.
And in this one he's just speaking basic. Everything's good. Palpatine does set off some fireworks. I'm using air quotes. It's I don't know if it's fireworks or a laser show. But did you catch the bottom of this? Totally looks like an opening crawl. There's
right.
There's a trapezoid of yellow lines that could look like text from far away that is slowly ascending.
Right. These fireworks are weird. Really weird.
Was that supposed to be a callback to an opening crawl? Because he says something
definitely.
remember where we came from or or something like that.
Yeah, that for sure is an opening crawl reference.
I wonder what it says.
But it's still just a weird. It's one of those Easter eggs that actually pulls me out of the moment because it's just number one, the fireworks are sort of weird, and then that extra bit is just okay, how does this physically work?
And it's also weird that Palpatine is the one controlling it.
Yeah,
the camera takes the time to cut to his finger prodding at buttons on a screen.
Yeah,
and then he puts his hands up
the full
Tony Stark style or something. And then there's
I like how you went with the more actual recent reference. I went with the Warriors, so hands outspread, can you dig it?
Right. Hey, we both have our vantage point here. I'm just the eye in the sky. You know what I'm saying? At this point, Obi-Wan definitely tries to warn Mace Windu. He's like, hey, I found Daron. He's going to take out the shield like I told you he was going to. And the shield generator sits behind Palpatine, kind of off in a corner if there was a corner of the stage.
Yeah, it's at the bottom of the banister.
Right, right next to a lowered walkway that goes around the outside of this platform so that Daron can just stick his hand through and zaps it with electricity and boom, the shield's down. Pandemonium ensues, kind of.
Yeah.
Ahsoka is the smartest one out of anybody here, and she's like, hey, I'm supposed to be your bodyguard, so you, Queen, and you, Padme, come with me. And they hightailed out of there.
Yep.
End of them being around for a while. Palpatine goes down, not because he is shot, but I don't remember what happens to him. Nothing dramatic.
He just gets snatched, doesn't he? By
No, he gets knocked down because what happens is the two guards that run up on him, because Mace is like, hey guards, take Palpatine and throw him on that speeder and get him out of here. Which also makes me question why earlier in the episode Mace Windu is like, we've mapped out the route from where the ship is going to land to where Palpatine is going to enter the building, which is just a straight line down the walkway to where they're going. Right. But then ships can they could have just dropped them off on this platform.
Right.
So I don't even know. Like I said, Ahsoka bails with the Queen and Padme. Anakin starts fighting Daron, and it seems like these disguise matrices, as soon as there's a physical altercation or something, Anakin punches him one time and the thing just disappears, and then you see alien dude
out. Yeah,
right, you see Parwan, and he shocks Anakin it's a very quick fight. So Anakin gets tentacle shocked, falls to the ground. And then even though this Parwan we saw like floating around in the last episode has like a jetpack.
Yeah.
And so Obi-Wan shoots the jetpack. Even though he had explained earlier that the sniper rifle he has is set for stun. It's loaded with stun charges. He's not meant to kill Palpatine. He's just going to stun Palpatine. So Daron falls off. Who knows where? Who knows what happens to him? Obi-Wan tries to pull the trigger again. He's like dang nabbit, there's only one shot. Yeah. Like, this seems like something he probably should have checked out.
Why wasn't he not checking the gun before? Yeah, exactly.
Right. So what happens after that? Palpatine is switched by the guards. So we find out that the two guards that run up are Embo and Twizzy, or whatever her name is, Praying Mantis lady. And they swap. So they stick like a disguise matrix on Palpatine. And then one of them takes the shape of Palpatine, and Palpatine takes the shape of one of the guards.
Yep.
And this is their distraction to like walk off. So Mace thinks that what was a guard is Palpatine and like goes to help him, and then Cad Bane comes in and just picks up the guard.
Yeah.
And walks off, and then Moralo Eval shows up for his getaway drive bit. All of this happens on the same platform, which is like 20 feet by 20 feet.
Yeah, it's not big.
And Obi-Wan is supposed to be watching all this. Like, he's already shot alien guy out of the sky.
Yeah.
So what is he doing?
Just watching, basically,
because he doesn't see the switcheroo.
That's what bothered me too about this moment. Like, he could have just kept eyes and communication open with Mace during all of this, but I agree. I was super mad that the plot convenience at the moment is that you have somebody getting the bird's eye view and missing the switcheroo that happens right in the middle of the platform, and somehow everybody else's back is turned at the exact same moment as well. It's bizarre. It's very bizarre.
Like, no one sees it. I get that there's probably some potential panic going on at this point, but Obi-Wan shot his one blaster. Maybe he's like at this point looking at the gun to try to get the rifle to work again.
Yeah,
maybe because when his next comment is something like, "Hey Mace, and the Chancellor is over there with that guy," and then he's like, "That guy's actually not a guard." So then Embo is found out, and Embo doesn't have his hat on at this point, so I'll dig his disguise a little bit more. At least it's not just like invisible or whatever. So the gig is up for Embo, and then Anakin rushes over there, and he's like, "Oh, Chancellor Palpatine, are you okay?" And Chancellor Palpatine punches him in the face, and then when this happened, that disguise fails, so we see it's Twizzy, and they fight.
Yeah.
This fight also does not last very long. So Bane is trying to evacuate with Palpatine. They get to the rendezvous point, and then almost immediately, like, Hardeen / Obi-Wan pulls up, and Cad Bane is like, "You're not supposed to be here yet." And he was like, "Oh, I didn't want to be double-crossed again." And Bane's like, I think everybody was double-crossed. Like, Dooku's not even here. So Mace and Anakin arrive. They reveal that it's actually Obi-Wan. And lo and behold, the bad guys are taken into custody, and Palpatine's okay. My next note is, 6 minutes left in the episode.
Yeah, I thought this too. Yeah.
Because it feels like this is where something should end, but it doesn't. We cut to...
It's like the next day, right?
I don't even know. I have a note that says, cut to good guy Star Destroyer. Padme is getting congratulations. I don't remember that.
I don't remember that at all.
But Obi-Wan and Anakin talk. Anakin is pissed that the council doesn't trust him. Obi-Wan tells him that it was his idea to keep him in the dark because his belief that Obi-Wan died really sold it to everyone. Mm-hmm. And he knew that if Anakin believed it, Dooku would believe it. But up until this point, this is the first time that Dooku has been mentioned in the plot of kidnapping Chancellor Palpatine.
Whole thing, yeah.
Yeah, like it sounds, the first 2 episodes, like before we get to the box, sound like Moralo Eval is like cooking up the scheme on his own, not that he's in league with Dooku.
Or even just at least in the first handful of episodes, like they're just trying to figure out Moralo Eval's place in all of this, right? Like, at least that was my sense in the first 2 episodes. Like, hey, we know there's something here, but we don't have concrete evidence of who he's working for. It could be Dooku, but we just don't know that yet. And then really quickly, it's like, oh yeah, we're meeting Dooku. This is exactly what's happening. And by the way, here he is.
Right. And now a game show.
Yes, yeah, the box, yeah. So, yeah.
So you had a similar thought to what I.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Good. I'm glad we're in agreement. Anakin is not in agreement, and he's. I really feel like he overreacts because he amps up his displeasure for not being included in the loop and turns into whiny Anakin and is basically like, who else lied to me? What else has the council lied to me about? And then he has this little temper tantrum where he's bitching at Obi-Wan. He's like, how do you know that you know the truth? Like, people are withholding the truth from me. How do you know the truth? And storms off.
Right.
So then we cut to Mace and Obi-Wan, I think, on a ship somewhere. I don't know where this scene takes place, but they're in a room and Mace is like, hey, it's time to switch it back. I'm tired of looking at that ugly face. And then he's like, is something else bothering you? And Obi-Wan's like, yeah, Anakin said something. Like, how do we know that we know the whole truth? Like, I'm going to go check something out. Mm. And so he goes back to the room with the sniper rifle that I guess he just left there.
Yeah,
so
he goes back to
he would
his
have
perch.
he would have just left his sniper rifle in the crow's nest.
Yep.
And he starts thumbing around through the case.
Yep.
And pulls out a communicator, which is still on. And he's like, oh, Dooku was listening the whole time and knew everything. I feel like he should have turned that off or something before revealing that, because Dooku could potentially just be listening to that.
Even then, because I still don't, the plan still, from Dooku's view of things, still seemed to have proceeded as planned. Like, there didn't seem to be anything,
except for the actual kidnapping. But
basically.
that seems to only be like a speed bump.
Yeah, because then I just don't understand what seemed to have changed, unless that was part of the giving Reiko Hardin the one shot thing, they suspected that he either one was in playing both sides or a spy of some sort. Up to this point, I just don't understand what has changed. But maybe it's what comes after this point that is the whole point of listening in, right?
Maybe. I think it was just that he had an uneasy feeling about Reiko, and it could be that everybody had listening devices planted on them or near them. So Dooku was just kind of monitoring everybody in this thing.
Right.
And we just see the reveal of the gun case and Reiko Hardin.
Okay.
because at this point we cut over to Palpatine and Anakin, and they're doing like a walk and talk, and Palpatine's like talking about going to a celebration banquet with Queen Yetni, and he's like, we'll leave after that. And Anakin makes mention, he's like, Padme didn't say anything about it. And then, so they walk in, and we get ourselves a real Empire Strikes Back thing here, where the person that's at the end of the banquet table is the bad guy. Dooku's sitting there. There's a fight. I thought it was funny that Dooku is like throwing chairs and plates and anything that's not tied down. He's just like force launching at Anakin. Anakin actually gets like fight. 2 forks lodged in his right forearm, so it's his mechanical arm. But when he pulls the forks out, there's like that spark and that electrical sizzle of something shorting out. So I expected like what to come next is that he's not able to effectively fight Dooku because of some malfunction in that arm. Nope. Doesn't matter. Obi-Wan shows up, saves the day again. The fight kind of traverses from inside this banquet room like out onto a balcony where there's Dooku's ship, and Dooku has Palpatine and gets him onto the ship, and then there's a little bit more fighting, and Obi-Wan throws the Chancellor back down onto the landing platform or something, and Dooku's like, Obi-Wan, you are a good adversary, but I cannot say the same for your Padawan. Closes the doors and takes off.
Yep.
Enter Padme and I think Mace Windu. Right?
At least Padme for sure. I honestly don't remember.
So why does she show up again?
I think because she's nearby, maybe, because like this is their home, right? Or it's the governmental building of some sort.
Who knows, man?
So she's just there. Goodness knows where everybody else is, or all the guards, or anything. But yeah,
I don't know.
We get like a comment from Palpatine about the Jedi, right?
Yeah, I don't know what that is because my last note is blah 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 blah, and they walk away as a group.
He says something like, "Oh, the Jedi have saved me twice in one day. Fantastic! Oh, to think what the galaxy would be if the Jedi were no more." Something.
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
I do remember that.
Yeah, like completely from our outside vantage point, it's like a very
heavy-handed foreshadowing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's with that line that we get the Irison and
Cue loud music.
Cue loud music. Yes.
Okay, so I immediately have 2 questions for you.
Go for it.
Question number 1. Was Emperor Palpatine privy to this plan?
Completely. Yeah. Both sides. Yeah.
You said both sides?
Yes.
So he knew, I know we talked about last week, like whether or not he knew that Obi-Wan was undercover, which we decided that in the beginning he didn't, but I'm thinking in the end he did.
I agree. After this episode, my opinion on what he knows changes quite a bit.
Yeah, because like everybody knows, and it's not even a secret.
Right.
It doesn't matter. Okay. That being said, question number 2. Did Obi-Wan even need to go undercover at all, or could they just have all showed up? Because their intel said that it was going to happen at this event.
Right.
Couldn't they have just showed up and then had like 3 Jedi? I mean, they could have still put somebody in a fucking building up top and been like, you be the eye in the sky. We all got communicators here. Like, keep an eye out.
Now that you mention, I didn't even think about that, but now that you do mention it, like, there's nothing of consequence that happens that required Obi-Wan to be in the skies this whole time, other than just, I guess, to throw him on this weird adventure with Cad Bane and Aval, right? But yeah, in terms of like the plan,
don't forget the game show.
Well, right. With the plan from the Jedi side of things, no, nothing there happened of consequence whatsoever. If anything, it probably would have been less complicated. So like, this is my point with the other thing, too, in terms of like, did that communicator really change anything? I wonder if it was like that first plan was just then a throwaway, so that they could try and have Dooku just show up later to try and get Palpatine then, on his own, right?
I don't think it was. I think that was the plan. Like that is,
and then it was just like a last ditch backup to try and get him again.
Right, shit started to go awry, so Dooku kind of stepped away for a little bit, and then he was like, I'm going to let this pan out, and then he just swooped in at the end, to accomplish the same goal in a different manner.
Yeah, I just feel like almost like if none of this happened prior, then like it would have just been less messy, and we wouldn't get an angry Anakin, and So
I 100% agree.
Yeah, there's nothing of consequence that happened in this episode.
Not only in this episode, but it like changes the need for
this whole arc,
the deception, the friends and enemies, and the box. Like we already decided the box was inconsequential.
Oh yeah.
But even it's like Obi-Wan didn't have to fake his death.
Nope.
He didn't have to make his friend mad cry.
Right.
We didn't need to do any of that. There didn't need to be this big secret that we just hold for like 2 days or a week or whatever, and then tell everybody. I don't follow the logic of why these things had to happen.
Right. And also, like, I feel like they threw away what is a good idea on a plan that didn't need it. Right?
Okay.
So, like, I really do like undercover stories, right? I to say I like the ideas, maybe not the right way to put it, but like they're fun stories to follow, right?
Right.
They're classic stories and like cops and robbers sort of thing. Like there are plenty of movies that cover this, right? But for this one, there's just no need. There's no. I would feel better if there was like even something that happened for Obi-Wan to maybe almost make him sympathize with Dooku or something like that, right? Like a double cross story that,
or even like some information that would hint that there is some truth to that thing that Dooku told him in Attack of the Clones,
right?
That the Senate is being controlled by a Sith Lord, right?
Yeah.
If him being undercover could kind of reveal a little bit of information, like he doesn't even need character growth out of this, but like some informational growth for like him to learn to share with the Jedi Council, for them to be a little bit more cautious in their dealings with the Senate and with Palpatine. Like,
or even if we get to that point and maybe the Jedi Council like shuts him down, right? Like that would be another cool.
But he has his suspicion because he has some evidence or whatever.
Yeah, but like Mace just is a dick and is like, no, like this doesn't make sense at all. And then maybe that would kind of change it, the positioning of like what Anakin tells him in Revenge of the Sith, right? When Anakin comes to him and Mace is like, look, if what you tell me is true, then
like, fuck, I should have listened to Obi-Wan after he was on that damn game show.
Right. So, but either way, I think they kind of like painted themselves into a corner here because of what we know how everyone reacts in Revenge of the Sith, right?
Okay.
So
I'm with you.
To try and back engineer anybody else getting more information is going to be a little difficult, I would say. But that's why
it's super complicated, and that's the problem with doing anything prequel related. I'm not talking about like the prequel trilogy. I'm talking about placing a story in canon before something that you already know happens.
Oh, absolutely.
In the future.
I agree. I completely agree. So that's kind of let's just say like if the we kind of discussed this with something else that we aren't going to officially talk about on this show for a while, but I think the best thing a prequel can do is elevate the surrounding material, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And as we're seeing here, this only complicates it more or is basically inconsequential, right?
Yeah, so let's roll that into our final judgment. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Do you like this one? Do you not like this one?
I'm not gonna lie, I am kind of in the middle of this one, like kind of like what we were saying last week to some degree, like,
okay,
or either last week or the week before. Because now I'm okay. Here, let's put it this way: as a standalone episode, I don't mind this one.
Okay,
but there's still issues here, right? There's still complete issues here where I'm just like, I'm gonna have to go thumbs down.
Okay.
Just because, after following the box and everything else, like you said, like I had a problem trying to care for this whole arc. Like I was just kind of passively watching this episode, right?
Okay.
And I wasn't feeling involved. I just didn't care, Like, and especially like with an episode like this too, like all the main players that are involved, they didn't build the tension right. Like again, prequels have existed prequels and movies based on true stories, especially where I know exactly who lives and who dies, or everyone lives, and yet they're throwing in these problems that still make me very tense, right?
Right.
So there are a lot of movies based on true stories where, like Argo is a perfect example, where like I know all those people are getting out of there, like I know the real life story, but for whatever reason, when I was in that theater, I couldn't breathe for certain parts of it, right?
Right.
And then with this one, we know what happens to all these players. And
most of them, except for the new.
Well, the main players,
peeps.
Right? The main
people
players,
that matter.
Yeah, the people that I care about. There is no.
Fair enough.
With the box, there is no work there to make me care about any of these other characters because you somehow keep mentioning their names, and I'm still gonna forget them the moment we hit stop on this recording.
I know.
And so that out of the way, when it comes to Anakin and Obi and Palpatine, I know what's going to happen to them.
So I think that from a storytelling standpoint, some of this was a little sloppy. It wasn't quite as tight as it could have been. Mm-hmm. But I did enjoy this. I give this one a thumbs up. Mm-hmm. Is it essential viewing? Probably not. It did give me a little bit of nostalgia back to like the Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars 2003, because like that culminates in the kidnapping of Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah.
I feel like it was done better in that series than this story. But I will say overall, these 4 episodes I enjoyed. Mm-hmm. This is an enjoyable episode to watch. It's not necessarily quick-paced. It's kind of like set up your good side, your bad side, explain the plan, do the plan, shit goes wrong. And then it was almost like that extra 6 minutes where I was like, well, the episode should be over because they've already done the thing that they told me that they were going to do.
Right.
Like, what is the rest of this? When like Dooku comes in, and even though we had that whiny Anakin, who's a little over the top, like that extra little bit, like after where I thought the story was going to end, mm-hmm. pushes my thumb up, and I'm like, all right,
really?
This was fun.
Because for me, it actually had the opposite effect.
Okay.
So I'm gonna play this both ways. Okay. I don't mind the action scene that we got, right? It was well done. Dooku versus Anakin.
It was fine.
It was fine.
It made me, I'm not going to lie, it made me think every time that I see Anakin and Dooku on screen together, mm-hmm. I'm going to question, is this the last time we met? Right? Because in Revenge of the Sith, he's like, my powers have doubled since last we fought or last we met or whatever.
Right.
And I'm thinking, is this that time?
Right. Because So, that said, to your point, when it felt like it was wrapping up, it did not naturally pull out of that for me. That's my problem with this extra tag, this long tag, as it were, right? Where I already was mild on this episode, and then as it was like starting to wrap up, I was like, okay, we're wrapping up. That's cool. Oh no, there's more to this episode, and I was ready to go cook dinner or do whatever else I wanted to do, right? Like,
but you had 6 more minutes to go.
Yeah, like, and again, it was fine. It wasn't graceful about trying to do that ending fake out, right? So again, I didn't hate this episode.
It's a middle of the road one.
Right. Yeah.
And you just happen to be a little down. I just happen to be a little more up.
Right. I mean, again, if anything, when it comes to this whole arc, if anybody wants to skip around Clone Wars, this is not an arc I would put on the list of, watch
essential
this.
viewing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not
from
sure
an
what would
essential
go on that
worker,
list,
I can tell you this is not essential viewing.
See, I'm not an essential worker at all, but yeah, I got nothing here. So, yeah.
What do we got coming up next week? Do you know?
We got something called Massacre, and that's all I know. So, yeah.
Okay. Make a prediction. If Obi-Wan is in this episode, is he gonna have his beard back?
Yes, there's gonna be some weird technology that can reverse vacuum cleaner his beard and hair back onto him. Yes.
Okay. So you think it'll be actually his beard and hair? It won't be like some weird nanotech that's just gonna make him look like his beard and hair?
No, there's some weird like hair technology in this universe, I think, maybe.
Is it going to be addressed, or is he just gonna look like he did before he had his
None
hair
of this
and beard
will ever be
vacuumed
mentioned. None of this will ever be mentioned again. I'm
including the 2 new disguise technologies that we have.
Maybe the disguise technology will be brought back and stuff, but in terms of this arc of Obi-Wan going undercover, I don't think that'll be ever addressed.
Okay.
I think we're just gonna move on forward.
Okay.
Other shit will happen. Anakin and Obi-Wan will deal with that shit.
Deal with the massacre.
Right. So.
I saw the thumbnail for this episode, and it did not give me any information into what happens in the episode.
For Massacre? Or this one?
Yeah. For Massacre.
Nope, I got nothing. Yeah.
So I am interested to see what is coming next week.
Yeah. We'll see that.
I got one more note, and then we can close this thing out.
Yes.
Or one more comment, rather. We started recording. We did the first recording of Deception back in October of 2019. So this 4-part arc has drug out for a long time because we did take that break to just kind of take a little time off, and
we took an actual holiday because it was the holidays.
Yeah, we took a holiday, and then we went through Resistance.
Yeah.
And then we got back to this. So it makes it feel so long. And I am happy to move on to something else.
Oh, yeah, man. Like, and again, from a real world perspective, too, like, this is separate of this episode, but I still think this comment needs to be made. It has been so weird watching season 7 and then coming back to season 4.
Yep.
And we'll make those comments when we do eventually get to season 7.
Yep.
But oh boy, is there an animation quality jump.
Yep. So there is a difference. Not
to say that this was bad, because
I just watched an episode from season 2 also.
Oh god.
So in the same week, I watched some season 7 episodes, some season 4 episodes, and a couple of, or at least one season 2 episode. So I'm all over the place with
Right.
the viewing quality of this thing.
Because I've made the comment before when I've noticed, like, there was one episode earlier, I want to say this season. I don't think it was season 3, but maybe earlier this season, where I'm like, hey, I think Obi-Wan has a new face, you know?
I think I remember that.
Right. I'm like, hey, you don't notice that he has like a very detailed face right now?
It was probably like the jump between season 3 and season 4, or
I don't even think it was a jump, because I remember having that discussion where, like, we had seen him. I think I even asked. I was like, "We've seen Obi-Wan this season, haven't we?" And then for whatever reason, it was like mid episode or mid season, and it wasn't like not mid season. It was just like between two arbitrary episodes. For some reason, his face got more detailed and more expressive.
My other guess would be that it is between like season 4 episode 8 and season 4 episode 9, because that's where the production break happens between like season 3 production and season 4 production. So that would be my guess if I had to throw one out there. But do you have anything else specific for this episode or conjecture for next episode?
Nope, absolutely not.
Well, let's close this one out. If anybody did have any other thing that they wanted to talk about regarding the Reiko Hardin arc, or, you know, to fill us in on what's coming up next week with Massacre, they could definitely head on over to notthenerds.com and find all of our social media links there. And or head over to YouTube, find us on YouTube. There's links on notthenerds.com, right? We got a couple of different playlists going on.
Yep.
Leave us a comment if you like. Lorenzo, next week, you have to remind me. We did have a comment that was left on iTunes a while back when we were more solidly recording these Clone Wars episodes. So I do want to address that and say thank you to that guy. That's coming up next week.
Yeah. And then our usual thank yous. We always like to thank Kevin at They Call Me K-Dub for putting together our cover art. We got Anthony, who put together the website at Blue the Beard.
Yep.
And then
Lindsay over at strangefantasymusic@gmail.com. She put together our intro, outro music. So thank you to those three behind the scenes peoples.
Yes. But until next week, I've been Lorenzo.
I've been Kevin.
These aren't the nerds you're looking for.
Bye-bye.
Stay safe, everybody.
Stay safe.